We are live. Let's get cracking, Dom. First question. Let's go. Cheers, everybody. Friday afternoon or 8 o'clock in the morning in Sydney or Brisbane or wherever the hell you are. But welcome. Let's go. Let's get after it.
Pig Rig Garage. How do you feel about companies consistently underquoting jobs?
Oh, look, dude. Was that Pig Rig and TikTok?
Pig Rig Garage.
Pig Rig Garage. That's cool. That's almost like Gas Monkey
That's
Garage,
what I was
isn't it?
thinking, yeah.
Sweet. That's gangster. On TikTok?
Yeah.
Sweet as. Thanks for the question, Pig Rig Garage. Look, I think at the end of the day, and I'm going to suspect you may not be in construction, but let's say you are. Look, I think ultimately when I talk about underquoting or underbidding, it is a race to the bottom. Because unless you've got super deep pockets and you love just losing money or not making money, it's a really short-term maneuver. And I think it's because, I don't know if a lot of guys go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge less money, make less profit, and win the job. I don't think they do that. I think what they say is, well, I can do it for less money than the other guy because I need the damn work. And so that ends up being, that's the struggle. Now, they probably are way too optimistic with how they think that job is going to roll out and or the actual gross profit that's in the job. And because of that optimism, then they get into construction and all of a sudden they find themselves in pretty bad shape and that their cost overruns are just everywhere. And so this is why I think when we're trying to re-engineer, look, as much as we are trying to re-engineer the client experience and we are trying to, deliver construction services at the highest level, we've got to understand that we have simultaneously got to take care of ourselves and our business. And so what we have to do is to make sure that we're re-engineering the way we do business. So if we take the whole, it's all about price thing aside for a second, we're like, okay, what do I need? What does my business need as a minimum? And so I don't think there's anything that you can do with somebody that wants to compete on price. What you've got to focus on is forget about that guy. What you've got to do is focus on the client type. If that client type is all about the money and focused on the cheapest and thinks that us builders or contractors are commodities like cans of Coke, then you don't want to be working for them anyway. So give it to old mate that wants to be the cheapest. What you need to do is find clients that actually focus on quality and then understand that they get what they pay for. And then, of course, that's where you can kick in. And if you can demonstrate the value and they can go, okay, this guy's a little bit more expensive, but I really like the way he rolls, then what you're going to find is you're going to start working for clients that you feel are better. And you're also going to find that the jobs that you take on, you actually are going to make more gross profit. And essentially, the more gross profit that you make, ensures that you not only just cover your fixed expenses for the month, but you're creating operational capital so you can develop the business. You need to put that little nest egg aside, which is 3 months worth of overheads or fixed expenses, so that you can then go, right, I'm going to put on a superintendent, or right, I'm going to put on an office nanny, or right, I'm going to put on a project consultant, or whatever you think your business needs next. That's what you're going to do. So that's kind of what I would do. I would pay no attention to the guy that wants to be the cheapest. It's easier to give birth than it is to raise the dead. Go find someone else. Next.
User. No name. User from TikTok. Hey, bro, just me and my old man started a business and we want to grow but unsure how to gain clients. We make about $250K a year between us.
Okay, make $250K as in, well, okay, I guess there's $500,000. How you get better clients? Look, I think, there's no question. You're welcome, Pig Rig Garage. Hey, look, there's no real set way of doing it. I do think what we focus on at Smith & Sons is we do all the digital media. So anything that needs a computer where we can track the analytics and the behavior and the patterns and we get the metrics and the feedback from the system and we can tell who watched videos, like that's what we like to do. But it doesn't mean that the local marketing that you can do is less impactful. It just needs a lot more legwork, right? We can put ads out on either on Google or we can put them out on social media, and we can really hit the marketplace quickly and get people's attention quickly. But I'm telling you, it's not as good as me talking to you as Mr. Client and me having a chat with you about your situation, and then you talking to me about your bad experiences, and then I talk to you about what I do as a builder to ensure that that doesn't happen to any of my clients. Like, there's a lot of that rapport building that you can't do necessarily on digital. However, you need to have a digital space. You need to be digitally omnipresent. You need to be everywhere on all platforms and not be one of these builders that the last time they posted was like January of 2021. Like, you just know that, like, yeah, they're not going to grow a business essentially. So trying to get clients is definitely, it's not a perfect science. I've got areas like here in our hometown, because we've been here for a while. We're about to roll out a new operator, and we might have him on the show at some point, on the podcast perhaps, in this town. And it's like the momentum is already there, right? Whereas if I start a brand new guy in a brand new location and he's just moved into that town, oh my word, it is super challenging to be able to get market penetration, brand awareness, effective lead generation. So I would say to you, it just really depends. I think a lot of it starts with branding. If you guys are rolling around in trucks, you need to have those deckled up. That's the first thing. You need to have uniforms, and you need to have a little bit of point of sale, stationery and brochures. And you need to be fairly creative with how you go about your marketing message. And that's what I talk about. You can do a lot of the local stuff yourself. Go to realtors, put down, put little welcome packs. So if people buy homes that need renovations, your name's going to be there front and center. But certainly, it's not as easy as what it sounds, and it takes time. You don't just go in there and flick on a light switch and all of a sudden it's raining leads. It doesn't happen that way. So hope that one helps. Next,
we got a little bit of a stack up of
questions. Okay, I'm going to try and be real brief because I'm not very good at being brief. So let's go.
Dan Booth's in the house.
Hey, Dan Booth, the man.
How you guys doing?
Doing awesome, man. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
User sent us a rose.
This is why I would love to give user a virtual peck on the cheek, but unfortunately we don't have a name, but that user sent us a rose. And so I love that. Appreciate it.
Storm O'Day 26.
Righto, Storm O'Day 26 on TikTok?
Yes.
Sweet.
I own a painting business, but I can't meet the demand with good labor. I have to put my prices way up. I'm looking for a part 2.
Yeah, I can roll with. You going to get something or
no,
not?
That's it.
Okay, look, and this is what, it's like, guy, let's say you're a painting crew like Storm. Is that it, Storm?
Yes.
Okay.
Storm O'Day 26.
Storm O'Day. Like, he's got great marketing message. He's got a great reputation. He's got a great sales process. He's thinking about that his prices may be a little bit on the low side. And then he's got plenty of work, but want to get off the tools and expand to quick and blow up. Yeah, look, I expanded too quick and blow up. Okay, so at least he recognizes the challenge that he's got, because all of those things he's ticking boxes, he realizes that his prices were a little bit too low, perhaps. And look, I think what you've got to do, Storm O'Day, is to you have to weather this storm. It's funny, it's a great name. You really have to be able to navigate your way through. And I am telling you, a lot of it's around communication. Clients actually don't give a shit that you're having a hard time getting labor. It's not their problem. It's your problem. So there's no point in even using that in conversation. It just means you've got to work 8 days a week. And here's what I would say. It's not sustainable. What you need to do now is find out what size business that you wanted. And like you alluded to, you said, well, I expanded too quick. So now it's like I've got all this demand and I've not got enough labor going on. And it looks like he's a little bit cheaper than he wants to be. So now it's hard to go and poach the good guys. And just a side note, that is an option. Do you know? You don't always have to put an ad on Indeed for a new, a new painter or a new carpenter. You can drive around estates and try and poach guys off building sites. That is a real game, just by the way. And so, I think what you've got to do, Storm O'Day, is you've got to navigate your way through it right now. Maximum amount of communication it's going to take and maximum amount of work with your own two hands. Unfortunately, you've got yourself into this. You've recognized where you maybe didn't pay attention to the dynamic of the business. It's nobody's fault. But what you have to do now is you are the captain and you have to navigate your way through this. So it may be a case if you might say, well, I can't possibly get to all the work. I said, okay, then you've got to hire guys at 25% more money, which means you are going to lose money, but you save face and the reputation. Remember, we're trying to turn all of our clients into raving fans. I would rather get to the end of 1 or 2 jobs when I know I'm in the midst of some pretty savage, like heartache and pain because of the demand that's on me, and get to the back end of those projects, break even, not make any operational profit, learn from it, and get a video testimonial to help me sell better next time at higher profit margins. So that's what I would say. That'd be the answer to that question. And guys, remember, email me, max@businessforbuilders.ca. I think that link or that email is in the bio in one of these, Instagram or TikTok. And just, if you got more questions, because it's very hard to get through all these questions and give it the right amount of detail, because I might have a little bit wrong, and getting context is super tricky. So let's go.
We're going to jump ahead to Dan Booth's question.
Thanks, Storm O'Day. Righto, Dan Booth. You're next.
How would you deal with a partner who isn't pulling their weight?
Open, honest communication. Now, I think what it happens, it's a two-part process. I think you've got to sit down. Let's say, and I've got to put myself in this position, Dan, because I've got the mic. Let's say Dan Booth is my underperforming business partner. Now, I do have three. Okay, one that's highly operational, working with me, but he's in Brisbane, Australia. And actually, he's not on the line at the moment. Maybe he's on an aeroplane, actually flying back from Sydney to Brisbane. Let's say Dan Booth is my underperforming business partner. I would have to sit down and go, Dan, look, we've known each other for a long time. Business has been going really well, but just lately, this is the way I feel. I just feel like you taking liquid lunches and half days every other day, whilst I'm out on the tools here trying to make this work. I really just find that, a little bit hard to live with. Can you explain to me why it is that you're having liquid lunches every other day and only working sort of half days? So questions are the answers, right? Because you know that when you start embarking on that program, it's going to create offense, because they're like, what do you mean? What's going on? And so all of a sudden there's a tug of war that's happening. So what we got into business together because we had a common goal. Now what's happened is there's all of a sudden there is an imbalance in the business relationship, and it starts with open, honest communication. Now, what I would advise is that you have that conversation way back at the beginning, but if you didn't and now you have to, it's going to be a little bit of a jagged pill to swallow. But open, honest communication and questions are the answers. That's how you're going to navigate your way through it. And now, if you have a business partner that starts ghosting you and doesn't want to answer the questions, then it's gonna ratchet up. What you're going to try and do is be reasonable with each other and negotiate, or at least make an assessment, come up with a report, and then figure out what you're going to do going forward in a way of a compromise. It's very much a divorce kind of situation. I've never had to go through a divorce, so I'm one of the ones that are blessed. But I've certainly seen enough business challenges. But it's very reliant on the personalities of both of the people and how they handle it. But that'd be my 40,000 foot macro assessment on how I would do it. Next. Thanks, Dan Booth. Appreciate it, mate.
Fahad.
Okay. Thanks for on TikTok.
Yes.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, IG.
IG. All right. Instagram. Sweet.
Hey, mate, what's the best way of keeping track of costs per project?
Yeah, you've got to have, it's called cost engineering, or it's really back costing, keeping track. Anyway, the way you got to do it is that every time, now when I started out, everything that happened, I had to actually provide a purchase order, because the local hardware wouldn't give me the goods unless I had a purchase order, right? So every single transaction had a purchase order. Now, if you're a one-man band and you want to track your costs, that's excellent. Because what you want to do is, if you're doing fixed price, which I assume you are, you're going to have your budget where you've won the job to build. Then you're going to look at your actual spend, and you're going to compare the two and see whether or not you have overages, or whether actually you created a little bit more operational profit because you're very efficient in your ordering and your execution. It means your estimates are good. The way you do it, the easiest way to do it is, obviously, if I've got a line item in my estimate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and generate a purchase order when I'm actually under construction, and I'm going to allocate that in my system back to that budgeted cost. And it's either going to show an equal, or it's going to show an overage, or it's going to show that I've only used maybe 90% of the budget, right? And so once you do that for every single purchase, and you might go through, let's say you go through frame stage, and you've got you've got a first load of studs there, you're doing a basement remodel, and you've got to fully stud the whole interior. And then you might need to go and get some poly, and then you've got to get insulation in there, and then you've got to get fasteners, all that kind of, nails and adhesives and whatever, what you're doing is you're going to put that all on the framing category. So you might have $7,000 worth of framing budget, and then every time you buy something that's in the framing scope of work, that cost gets thrown into that category, and slowly but surely you start using up the budget. Now, we use Build Exact. You can find that at buildexact.ca or .com or .com.au. But Build Exact is certainly the place where we would. Well, that's what we use to do cost analysis, cost engineering, back costing. And episode 75?
75.
Episode 75 on Business for Builders YouTube, or episode 75 on Business for Builders podcast. That's where I talk a lot about how to use Build Exact for not just back costing but everything. So sweet as.
Cool.
Is Dan Booth checking out?
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. You too, Dan Booth. Appreciate you chiming in, bro. Take it easy.
Lockie Walters.
Lockie Walters from
TikTok.
Righto, Lockie Walters on TikTok. Thanks for your question. Let's go.
Got a question for you. Any tips on how to talk to tradies/subbies on site as a CA in the office?
A C8.
CA.
CA. What the hell is a CA?
No idea. I can search it up.
Okay, he's in the office, so he's obviously getting disrespect from guys on building sites because they're obviously, he's not as cool as they are because he's in a freaking office. What would he know?
Construction administrator.
Construction admin. Okay. Hopefully
Maybe.
we've got that right.
That's just what came up.
Okay, that'll do me. Mate, I think you've got to balance it. Now, who was the question from again?
Lockie Walters.
Righto, Lockie Walters. You're a CA in the office. How do you communicate with subcontractors? Right. Look, I think the best thing you can do, having been a subcontractor, let's say carpenter, and I've had to deal with some more often than not, either salespeople or sort of estimators as it relates to, my scope of work. I think the best thing you can do is not go in there and try and be buddy-buddy. I think you want to keep a professional standard that you already are. That's where you exist. But I think what you've got to try and do is, obviously, it's better to remove the friction, not be button heads. It's just ego and humility. Now you're going to struggle because a lot of these subcontractors don't understand balancing ego and humility. And so, no matter how hard you try, you do have a hard time really balancing those relationships. But, you want to go out of your way to try and just because what you're trying to do is they want to get in and out as quickly as they can because the quicker they get the job done, the more money they make, right? So anything that you can do that's going to add value to that objective for the subcontractors without taking away value from you, the contract administrator or builder, then that's, again, trying to find that compromise. So I know I used to be a bit of a bitch. Anytime I used to be able to give an estimator a hard time about not enough, materials, I would bloody give him a serve. There's no question. But it doesn't, over time, I never did follow through too hard with that. I always seemed to end up developing fairly good relationships with those in corporate office. And then, ironically, I find myself in a corporate office. So, that's my 2 bob worth. Hope that helps. Next question. Let's go.
Syed.
Yep.
From TikTok. Hi, I'm in uni for construction management in Sydney and will be moving to a second-year uni. Any tips? Any tips?
Yeah, look, I think we talked about this maybe last week or the week before about, do I go and get some heavy-duty university credentials, construction management or whatever, the project management? Look, I think it's not as important. I'm not saying that it's not important, but it's maybe not as important when it comes to residential. But certainly nowadays in the commercial world, I think having that professional credential is definitely is advantageous. And really, it's sort of like, for me, I just found myself being a really bad school student. My old man had me in private education, and then he recommended halfway through grade 11 that I shouldn't go to grade 12, and I'm like, peace, man, like, that's cool with me. And so I end up finding myself in residential, and there was no focus on credentials. It's like, dude, can you work? Do you listen? And can you do a good job? And that was really got me cracking. So, look, I think it really comes down to what it is that you wanted to do. And a lot of it comes about from influence. So maybe your uncle was an architect, or, your mum was a designer, and or something along those lines. And that's what's drawn you into the construction sector. But more often than not, you'll be focusing on either residential or commercial because you knew somebody. Oh, my big brother was, in commercial high-rise construction. I'm going there too, but I'm going to get a uni degree so I can do project management or whatever the case may be. So, look, I can't comment on that. If that's what you find yourself in, then fill your boots, get after it, and just do really well, and just keep your eyes open because you'll be overqualified for residential, but there's probably a lot of builders that could do with that skill set as well, even though there's not a lot of practical in the field stuff. So yeah, see what happens. What's next?
I man it or I'll man it. I'm not sure. Best way to save costs in a building.
Well, best way to save costs in a building, like in a building project.
In a building, that's
okay. So, what we did when I built 5 townhouses, and what happened was we figured out, or my estimator, who was a buddy of mine, he was on the tools with me as a carpenter, and his old man was a builder. He came to me about 3 weeks after the project started. He said, "Look, I've gone to order the ceramic tiles, and I haven't included that in the budget." So I'm like, "Okay, what's it worth?" He said about $8,000 or $8,500 or something like that. And I'm like, "Okay, that's a bugger." Then from that day onwards, what we were focusing on, and this is where cost engineering comes, you're like, okay, where are we actually clawing back the loss? And so if you have to do this to try and create more operational profit, it'll work as well. So what we would do is it's sort of like a just-in-time order, or it's an intentional short order. So now, you just got to be prepared to weather the storm because people will get pissed at you because you're short ordering. So, perfect example is we did this project and let's say we needed 20,000 bricks. Well, I got Jace to order, I don't know, something like 16,000 bricks or 18,000 or whatever it was, but I thought we're going to be short, right? And then the bricklayer rings us. He's about a week from finish going, "Max, there's not enough bricks on the site." And I said, "Gary, how many do you need to finish?" And he said, "I need another 1,000. I said, "All right, mate, I'll get those ordered this afternoon. I'll get them off to you." Now, remember, in the budget, I'd allowed for, say, 20,000 bricks for that job. But what I ordered and got on site initially was 16,000. And then when the bricklayer rang me, bent out of shape because he was going to be short bricks, he then told me exactly what that top-up order was. And I actually saved $3,000 or, it's about $1 a brick, right? And so what I would do is I would also adjust the bricklayer's budget because now I know what I ordered. He told me what the plus order was. So if I gave him a purchase order for 20,000 bricks, I'm saying, "Gary, you got to give me some of that back, bro, because you've only laid 17,000 bricks." So I saved it both on the order and also on the labor. That's one way of doing it. Give that a crack.
Cool.
Hope that helps.
This guy's username is follow RJ.
I'm going to call him RJ, and we should follow RJ. But
from TikTok.
Okay, RJ, what's happening?
Any recommendations for software/apps for project management?
Yep. Go and check out episode 75 on the Business for Builders YouTube channel or episode 75 on the Business for Builders podcast. And but we use Build Exact. We chatted about that at the beginning of the show. BuildExact.ca if you're in Canada, BuildExact. Whatever, wherever you are. Pretty sure it's just, I don't know where they're open actually. Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada for sure. I'm not sure if they're open in the UK actually. Might have to ask me old mate in Vancouver about what's going on. But that's what we use. And we've got over 100 general contractors who use BuildExact, man. So that will work out okay. Not perfect, but a really good option.
Danny from TikTok.
G'day, Danny from TikTok. What's your question?
Hi, I have my first day as a site supervisor on Monday. Not much experience. Any tips?
Righto, Danny. I'm going to assume that Danny has got some experience as a tradesperson. Just see if we can't get some comments there because if he's in Australia, you've got to have a builder's license to become a supervisor, especially in Queensland, I know for real. But I would say, I tell you the heart, I swore, and it's fair to say that I've never worked as a superintendent or a supervisor for a general contractor or a builder because I knew the shit that I used to hang on my supervisor, and I'm thinking, there is no way. Now, my brother was doing it. He was working for Simmons Homes, who are based out of Melbourne. And he was always looking after 20 homes. And I always said to him, I said, here's the problem with being a superintendent. So hopefully this doesn't pop your balloon. He won't be able to sleep all weekend. You've got 3 bosses. You've got your general manager or the owner of the building company. You've got the clients And you've also got the tradespeople are screaming at you all for performance. Like the owner wants you to get these jobs to the next progress payment schedule. They want you to get the job done so you can get on to the next one, right? The clients want their shit finished and they're not interested in excuses. And you could be having all kinds of trouble getting subs and materials, right? And then the subs just want everyone out of their way so they can get in, get their job done, make the money as fast as they can and get out. And so you are copying it from three sides. So I guess this is not so much advice. It's more of a cautionary note that it is going to take a lot for you to insulate yourself and not get too emotionally riled up, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people making a lot of demands of which you don't seem to have a lot of control. It's like you're responsible for all this, the materials and the labor, but like subs, they're like, well, the fishing's good, so I'm going to nick off on Thursday afternoon and have an extra long weekend and I'm not back till Tuesday. And you're like, dude, I need that frame finished. What the hell? And so this is where the life of a superintendent or a supervisor can be very challenging. So you're going to have to figure it out the way. And was that a question by Danny?
Danny, yeah. Yep,
so he just popped up and said, what's the best way to prepare? Look, mate, I honestly, you've got to be familiar with the building processes within that building company. If they've got software, you better be a frigging ninja, because that is not the place to be learning how to use that, although I'm sure you will learn something. And I think questions are the answers, Danny. Like, if you try and pretend that you do know something, the trades, when you're speaking to them about their trade, they will see straight through you. There's no question. So I think you've got to have probably a lot more humility than ego. Be confident in your own ability to deliver, but you've got to allow them to get to know you, and then you got to realize there might be some shit I'm going to have to learn pretty quick smart in the first, say, 4 to 6 weeks. And then you find, I know that there was one guy that I had a really good, there was two guys that I had really good, they were both superintendents, and I had really good relationships with them. But there was at least one occasion for both of those guys where we went toe-to-toe because they were dicking with the typical program of how I wanted to do it. And I was a subcontractor. But you know what? After we kind of flushed out and the two dogs had a bit of a fight, all of a sudden we worked out how to mesh gears and things were good. And I'm friends with Des on LinkedIn today, and of course Dave from the Gold Coast. And it does work out, but it's just massage the system. Don't take it personally, Danny. Everyone is just in it for themselves, mate, and you're the stop-go man, and you've got to make it work. So, like I said, folks, hit me up on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca. And Danny, keep me up to date, champion. I hope it goes well for you, champ. Put your helmet on, your mouth guard in, and get after it. Make everybody happy. I know you can. Okay, next one.
Jovan from IG.
Okay.
Do you prefer the clients paying the trades or getting progress draws to pay the trades yourself?
Pay the trades myself. I need ultimate control. And that's not because I'm a control freak. It's just because that if somebody doesn't lead, and if there isn't a single point of contact, i.e. the builder, then it ends up being a shitstorm, which is fine where everything's going right. But the minute something goes wrong, it's a big finger-pointing session. It was you. You did it. You ordered it. That was your guy. Bullshit. I'm going to cop it already from the client. I might as well make it all on my watch. And that way I can go, right, what do I need to do to get this sorted out? And I'm telling you, even in my role as CEO, that's the way it works. I just have to eat the dog food, and then I own the rights to the solution. I get after it. So I would prefer to have the full say, and the client just stands over there because I'm the professional. Let me build it. Let me liaise with the subcontractors, and we'll be fine. So I'm gonna have headaches anyway, so I might as well just take all of that and get ready for it. If I manage it well, maybe won't have as many headaches, and the client will be standing over there with a big happy face. So there you go.
User from TikTok.
Righto.
Just started up a business doing GC. I had a question about how do you feel about offering multiple services?
As a GC, multiple services, not sure. As a general contractor, the role of a GC is to basically procure the services of subcontractors and also supplies, oversee the construction process, and bang, that's the business.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it is a very diverse job, which I love. I was only on a job site yesterday, and I was just mixing it up with some concrete finishes. And, it really does. It's definitely something I enjoy, no question. Joe Vaughn just shot me a bit of love. He said, thank you. I want to confirm this. Me and my dad butt heads on certain projects and how to run payments. Yeah, the old father-son thing. That can be a dog of a job. No,
Tell me about it.
Let's go.
Ron Champagne
Okay, Ronnie Champagne.
from TikTok.
Cool.
How would you deal with customers who nitpick everything and know everything? Like, know everything.
I would figure that out in the quoting process, and I probably wouldn't end up working for them. However, let's say that you end up working for them. It's again similar to the story I started with. You have to navigate your way through it. So it just means you've got to look. I was very hands-on. Matter of fact, one of the first jobs that, let's say, Smith and Sons did here, I actually removed an interior set of staircases, built an 18-foot wall, put an elevator in, reframed the flooring, finished it all off, and I was on that job. That was me hands-on. And I was always, and I think the only trade that we really incorporated was the elevator guy and the electrician. I think I was pretty much, there was no plumbing, so I pretty much did everything else. So it was quite easy for me to ensure that client remained happy across the board, because they were always standing, Jack was retired, and it was because his mother-in-law, who was like 88 or 92, had to get up and down the stairs. So that's why the elevator was going in. And there was definitely a part of me, I mean, I was a little bit more seasoned, I was probably 46 or something like that. And so I didn't, he liked to play rock and roll, and he was a guitarist and shit. So we sort of mixed it up. It was pretty funny. But, I think nitpicking, really, I think what happens is sometimes is that clients, they probably don't nitpick from the start, but there's a lot of nitpicking that goes on because they don't trust you for some reason. And yet sometimes it is hard to please clients. I think what you've got to do, it's up to you as an individual. You're different from me. What I tend to do is just basically deal with it. If they're going to nitpick because something is out of whack, I'll either fix it or I'll offer them some remuneration, a credit. Look, there's no way, that was part of the original building. I couldn't fix that. And I know you're annoyed with me. Unfortunately, it's out of my control, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll offer you a $250 credit change order on the next progress payment schedule. That's all I can do. And then there's some times where you've just got to check out and go, I'm sorry. And I don't get a video testimonial, which would annoy me. But you can't be everything to everybody. And some people just want to, you can never do it perfect enough. And that's unfortunate, and that's just the way it is. So, yeah. What's next? Hope that helps.
Angel21 from TikTok.
Angel21. Let's go.
What profit margin would you consider successful?
Look, I subscribe to, on Renos, let's say, I'll assume that, what was it, Angel21 was talking about Renos. I would expect that you would utilize the 43 to 45% markup, which will create for you a 30 to 31% profit margin. I think that's the bare minimum. We have got a shit ton of questions, dude. So I need to keep this cracking. Yeah. Folks, we will shut this down at some time, but keep them coming. We're going well. Yeah. But that would be that to me is an appropriate profit margin. But you might be just new to the area. You might have to, go back on the compete on price thing. But you just can't stay there. You've got to be able to demonstrate a reputation and value to the clients, and be able to charge at what I call the market value for our construction services. So, what you got?
El Camicon.
Okay.
Yeah. How do we look for leads?
I don't know that you look for leads. I think you can go on the front foot when you're at barbecues, and you can go and try and talk to people. Do you know anybody? Have a business card in your skyrocket in your back pocket, and just say to people, hey, I'm in the building game. You know anyone who wants? It's a little bit corny to do at a social event, but once they get a bit of piss in them, people will talk about anything. So that's one way of doing it. I think that in this day and age, you've got to get with the program on digital, but that is a little bit of a craft all by itself as well. To be able to sort of advertise successfully, and there's organic and then there's paid, right? So, and it all really comes down to. It comes down to how much money. I mean, we spend tens of thousands of dollars per year on Google AdWords and social media, but we are looking after over half a dozen general contractors. So it really comes down to whether you want to pound the pavement, press the flesh, talk to realtors, architects, interior designers, build up a sphere of influence, put out gift packs, use that to be able to draw to get your phone to ring. That's essentially what we're saying. But I'm telling you, people are not going to just roll into your front door. You've got to go and pay to play if you're going to use digital networks, and you're going to have to do that if you're going to start running an ad. Some guys locally, if you're not wanting to really scale up a business massively or quickly, there's nothing wrong with an advertisement in the back of the classifieds. Some people just look at that. They don't look at digital. But, for us, we work averages and we're doing more in more locations, and so we're big on digital. So, righto.
User from TikTok?
Another user.
How many hours do you got to work when you start a construction business?
How many hours in a week? 7 times 24, whatever that is. 7 2s are 14, 7 4 is 28. Look, that's that. How long's a piece of string? It depends on 168. Depends on how good you are. I've never considered, how many hours. When I come to this country and I'm like, all right, I want to get in to the building industry because that's all I knew. I've been a carpenter by trade. I don't think I've got an answer for you. That's ridiculous. I cannot do that. I don't know how good you are. I don't know how deep pockets, how deeper pockets that you have. I don't know how patient you are. I don't even know how good in construction you are. So email me, max@businessforbuilders.ca, and let's jam. Put your helmet on and your mouth guard in, because that's quite an unorthodox question, but one that I respect nonetheless. But, I think if you're in your early 20s, and I know that I've been crucified for saying shit like this before, that I would say up to the age of 28. Matter of fact, if one of you guys or girls said, I'm 24 years old and I want to buy a Smith & Sons franchise, I'm at a point where I wouldn't let you in. I would say, look, I don't want to discriminate, and I will assess the situation, ask questions, and I might make an allowance, but my rule of thumb is 28. And the reason I picked 28 is because I was 28 when I became a father, and that's when I remotely started to be responsible. That's the only reason. There's my math behind that. But I just think if you get out of your apprenticeship at 20, like I did, or 22 maybe, 22, 23, you need 3 to 4 years in the game where you can, really experience life as a true-blown subcontractor, or whether you can, you've done work with a builder, or you've just got some runs on the board, and you're starting to grow a goatee or a moustache, or you got some facial hair and you don't look 5 years old. That also helps. Maybe start doing smaller jobs if that's the way you're going to go early on. But anywho, what's the next question? Let's go. We go.
Andy from TikTok.
Righto, Andy from TikTok.
On the answer about paying the trades, what if the bank won't let that happen? I have no idea.
Paying the trades. I answered a question, obviously, about paying the trades.
I think this is regarding the question somebody asked about if the homeowner should pay the trades or if they should pay the trades.
Right. Okay. So then what was his backup? Well, what was his question?
The answer about paying the trades, what if the bank won't let that happen?
Well, that's a shit show, dude. I've never had that. The banks have never paid subcontractors. From where I come from, if that's the way it is, that's a gong show. Get out of that job, get it finished, do whatever you've got to do and move on. But at the end of the day, if the banks are paying the trades, if there's a warranty callback, call the bank. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't recall sort of ever having that bridge to cross. So, yeah, man, I don't know quite. If the banks don't pay the clients and then the clients can't pay you and then you can't pay the trades, that's a problem. But, yeah. Anyway, email me. That's probably the best way. We can do a follow-up. Yeah. Let's go.
Patchett & Co. Contracting from TikTok.
Patchett & Co. Contracting. Righto.
Second year sole trading as a carpenter does decking, pergolas, has a young family with 2 kids. He's 25-year-old. He's asking for some advice.
Around what? Making money?
I guess. If he wants to follow us up.
And who was that from? That was Patchett & Co. Contracting.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some love being thrown around, I think.
Well, it's just they're talking with each other.
Right.
In the comments.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. It was too vague, wasn't it? Like, I don't know.
It was pretty vague. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I'd say this. This is always, I guess this is my go-to.
General. He just asked for general.
Look, I think you've got to dream big, start small, systemize everything. I really should make a T-shirt out of this. Dream big, start small, systemize the shit out of everything. Focus on business development fundamentals. So educate yourself around business development fundamentals and start educating yourself around financial management, the metrics and analytics, both. In other words, what metrics do I trap and how do I go about analyzing and what is that data telling me? That's what I would say to that. Was that Patchett and Co. Contracting. Yeah. So that's what I would say. That's it's all about education, but around those specific things. Okay.
Shoaib.
Douglas just joined us on Instagram.
SHOAIB.
Okay. Shoaib.
Well,
yeah, I see it. Yeah, I gotcha.
While quoting for a full basement finishing jobs, what % margin is considered fair?
No, look, and you know what? That's a fair question, but I'm talking about, you're welcome, Patchett and Co. But what really, when you're saying fair, I love the fact that you've used that word, because you're going, well, I just want to make money, but I don't want to, gouge the client. And I'm like, okay, but there's been so much talk because the industry typically is all about, they think that being the cheapest is the best. And I'm like, that just doesn't work long term. And so I think what we've been doing for the longest time is quoting below the market. We haven't been serving our businesses responsibly. And so to go and make a jump where a lot of you guys and gals who are doing cost plus are doing it on, 12 and 15 and 18 and maximum 20% markup. It's by the time you take out what you've got to spend on marketing if you're wanting to grow a business, by the time you take out what you've got to spend to pay yourself at an appropriate margin, not at like, well, this is all I need to survive, which I know is a good startup maneuver, but at some point the business has got to turn and be able to pay someone to do your job at the market level. We are just not quoting enough. Now, I've got a whole team of general contractors where there'd probably be 50% of them that have never, ever quoted at the rate that we use. It's just unheard of to mark up materials and labor by 43 and 45%. And everyone screams blue murder like that's too much. Compared to bloody what? Nobody can tell me. I'm saying they think it's a lot, but I'm like, and running a business takes a lot of money. That's why I charge it. And then these guys wonder why they can't make money in their business. Which is it going to be? You can't do both, okay? You can't be quoting and competing on price and being cheap and then bitch because you're not making any money. Rant over.
That was a pretty good one. That was a real good one. You'll see it on TikTok next week.
That one will end up being a viral video for sure. So look, I hope that helps. Jeez. Did he ask another question there about?
I'll go into it. Yeah. As a GC, how much should I budget for electrical for 1,000 square foot basement?
Okay, here we go. I should get Douglas. If you got your ears on Douglas, I got a question there, because I could shoot the shit. Now the question I would have while Douglas is thinking about it: how much should we budget for an electrician to do a 1,000 square foot basement? I need to know. We'll quote it in Canadian dollars, right? But let's say you want to improve the service from a 100 amp service to a 200 amp service. That straight away is a couple of grand, I think. Now, I haven't done one for a long time, so I could be corrected. I'm okay with that. But if anybody in our, and I'm losing my voice, anybody in our TikTok community or our Instagram that wants to throw down, we've got a question here about how much to budget for electrical. I know what it cost me to do that was 20, that was, what's that? That was a 200 square foot jam space for me. My house with my electrician cost me $3.5 grand. So that was all on cost. So to do a whole basement, I would say 7.5 to 10 grand for electrician. That's my guess. Any takers?
We haven't gotten anything so far, but there's usually a 30-second delay.
I'd easy say for 1,000 square foot basement, you're not going to get out of it for under 7.5 grand. If you're dropping 2 grand on a service upgrade from, say, 100 amp to 200 amp board, that's what I would say to update it. Okay, next question. Stay with us, Shoal. We'll get back to you. Shoal? Oh, shit. I have no idea.
Michael isn't in IG anymore.
Is he bounced out?
He bounced.
Dog.
Jeremiah.
Text him.
Jeremiah asked, how do you estimate?
I build it in my head, bro. I absolutely built it in my head. We estimated on a $1.1 million townhouse, and that is all we did. And I'm telling you, you might think it's not even a big job. My old boss built a 36-story high-rise. That's a big job. That's about 200 million bucks worth. But I just built it in my head. Now, it was easy for me to do because I'd spent the longest time since I was 16 in the building industry. I was 20, whatever I was, 20, what was I, 32 or something when I got my builder's license. So I'd done 10 years in the industry. So for me to sit down and do somebody a quote, like today, if you ask me to quote anything, I just build it in my head. I go, right, if it's a main floor reno, I'm like, okay, am I doing windows? Am I doing siding? Yes or no? No, I'm not. Okay, so on the inside, I'm stripping out all the drywall. I'm deleting some walls. I'm demolishing the kitchen, and I'm going through the demo process in my head with like virtual reality. I'm feeling myself walking that material to the frigging trailer, and I'm going, oh, demolition, debris disposal. I got to do that, right? There we go. Let me come back. Shoab. I got to get that name right. Spent about 16 grand on a 1,400 square foot basement, almost 40 pot lights. Yeah, 200 amps. There you go. Lots of flush LEDs, blah, blah, blah. Candy bar area, electrical for 4. And there was 16 grand. So my 7 to 10 is not even close. So, yeah, there you go. So you either made a shit ton of money or that's a pretty crazy number for an electrician. But I got off track.
Read his question. This is how do you estimate? You're talking to them about walking.
So yeah, so we're just building in our head. We want to make sure that that's to me is the best way because what I do is I do it over a period of days because when I naturally I will lay in bed and I'll be like I'll just because I kind of love the game and I'll be like, oh, I forgot something. And what I'll do is a lot of times I'll pick up my phone and I'll email myself and go, don't forget to add the ceramic tiles in that townhouse project, will you, Jace? Send. Which I wish I had have done. So yeah, that's what I do. And then of course use software. In this day and age, there's no excuse. Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, Build Exact full blown retail for the whole 9 yards, project management, graphic takeoff, the whole 9 yards is about $300 a month Canadian. But you've got to use those tools, dude. You don't half-ass your tools in your trailer because you've got good tools to do a good job. The same thing happens in the business. If you want to go be a good estimator, you've got to get the right training and the right tools. So that's how I estimate.
Dimitru from TikTok. Yeah. He asked,
Dimitru's back.
What clauses do you put on your contract? And then Jill has put here, episode 93, tips for contractors, how to build a bulletproof contract.
Right. So, Dimitru, go to episode 93 on Business for Builders YouTube or Business for Builders podcast, episode 93. I talk all about contract administration, and I do run through all of the clauses that we put in there. We've got change order policies, we've got inclement weather, we've got force majeure, we've got latent conditions, all those kinds of things which are over and above what you'd find on a standard contract for services. This is what we check out. So on that episode. So go and stick your nose in there, have a bit of a listen, and be sure to email me at max@businessforbuilders.ca if you got any more questions.
Jimmy from TikTok.
G'day, Jimmy.
How much does a 1,100 square foot basement reno cost on average?
About $125 a square foot Canadian. So if you're American, then you need to convert that shit back. That would be from. It really does depend. That would be from, because people could go and say, well, I want quartz countertops and I want fancy appliances and I want mirrors on the back of the bar and all kinds of wild and crazy shit. But, I think if you just want to do a basement reno, $125 a square foot is probably good, which essentially means on 1,100 square foot, it's 130, 140,000. That's getting close. It might need to be more than that. That might be a little bit too conservative, Jimmy. So, but just be careful. Do your own math, bro. Use that as a bit of a cross-checker, but go and do an itemized assessment if you can, and basically break down. Remember, don't forget, if you've done one basement, you've done them all, give or take. So build templates. Spend the time. Spend 20 or 30 hours building a template. Go and get the prices, and then once you've got that menu, you can then just modify. And this is where having, software like Build Exact or Build a Trend or whatever, you can go in and do that and build those templates, and they can really end up being a really good tool. And then, of course, you always tweak on the fly as well, because you might go, I underquoted that or I overquoted that. I need to update that. That's how I do it. That's what I think that costs.
Shobi. I'm so sorry. This is a follow-up statement or question. Is 16 grand too much for the upgrades I mentioned in your opinion?
Okay, so he said I spent about 16 grand on a 14 with almost 40 pot lights, 200 amps, 40 pot lights is a shitload of work for the electrician. So lots of flushed LED strip in the kitchen, island, candy bar. I think 16 grand is rich. I mean, I do. For 1,000, or it's a 1,400 square foot, nonetheless. I mean, there's 40 pot lights. I would get the electrician out there, dude. Like, is that a possibility? I don't know if that's a possibility, but I would take the guy out for lunch and I'd sit him down, or I'd take him out for a beer or whatever, invite him into my office and go, bud, this is what I got. Get him to tell you back, because I was undercooking it probably, but 16 grand, yeah, that's up there. I don't know how you come up with that number. That'd be interesting to figure out how you come up with that number. But again, these are menu items. The electrician can say, to an upgrade from 100 amps to 200 amps is this much. It's 2 grand. It's, per pot light, you're going to spend $30 on a pot light, and it's going to be $40 to install every one. So it's $70 a pot light, $100 a pot light. There's 4 grand in pot lights. Like, it's not freaking hard. We just got to use our builder brain and go think about that shit. And you can figure a lot of this out on your own. Go and ask questions of the trade, get that data, and then go back and compile that inside of a template or a spreadsheet if you must. But certainly try and use the any type of recommended software like Builder Trend or Build Exact. Go. What's the next one?
We're onto the sheet. So if anybody doesn't have any,
we're an hour in, folks. So
if you want to ask,
if you've got any more questions, hit us up.
Yep.
We will be keen to get out of here today if possible, but just keep asking away. We've got another few minutes, but we'll round this up pretty quick. If we've got, have we got? Yeah, you're welcome, man. No sweat. That was, dude. That is Shoai.
I have no idea how to pronounce that. Shoaib
Syed.
Shoaib.
He's getting a lot of airtime, that's for sure. We got another question?
Yeah. What are you looking for in the first client meeting?
What am I looking for in the first client meeting? Reasons why I shouldn't work for you. That's what I'm looking for. I really want to. My life is so challenging. As a builder, I've just got to avoid hard to deal with clients. That's it. That's just, unfortunately, it's the way I roll. Maybe I'm just old and grumpy. I don't know. But I don't want to be pretentious, and I don't want to be, playing it down like I'm somebody special. But I'm telling you, if you fail the attitude test, I will slowly bow out and I will go and find someone else to work for. So in the first conversation with people, I want to find out, is their budget expectation, realistic? Or is it so far below the market value? That horse is dead. Dismount. Just forget about it. You'll never fix that shit. So, that's really I got to figure out a lot around chemistry. Do I like these people? Do I think these people are going to be able to get to know me and like me? What else? Are they got the right budget expectation? Guys and girls, do not ask a client ever, what's your budget? Please don't do that. They are not builders. That's why they've called you, right? What you've got to do is ask them what their budget expectation is. In other words, what do you expect this to cost? Because you don't need any building experience to just throw a dart at a dartboard and have a guess. And that's all we're asking them to do. What's your budget expectation? They go, well, Max, I think this bathroom, I'd like you to be able to do it for 10 grand. Can you do that? And I'd be like, wow, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'd love to be able to do it for you. But unfortunately, that would send me broke. And you don't want me to go broke. So that's the games that I play. And so in the first conversation, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm really trying to evaluate, do I like them? Do I think they're going to like me? And do they have, an appropriate expectation? And are they going to fail the attitude test eventually? We'll wait and see. So, anyway, next one. What do we got?
Liam from TikTok.
Righto, Liam from TikTok. Let's go.
Thoughts on volume quoting / set margins, low win rate, or less volume closer margins, high win rate?
What the hell? I'll tell you what
commas in here?
Yeah, was there a lot of commas in there?
No, there's none. So I was just reading it.
Right.
Thoughts on volume quoting / set margins, low win rate and less volume, or higher. Dude, that makes sense.
What he's trying to figure out is, do we go like quantity with a low quality? I don't do that. Like, if I'm going to do a job for somebody and I'm going to spend 40 hours a week for however many weeks trying to make, that shit box come alive and be something contemporary, something they can be proud of, something that's functional, that's aesthetically pleasing and does fit their budget expectation. I'm not about trying to do anything quantity. Like, forget about it. There is enough opportunity. Guys and girls, I live in a town here that's got 30 or 40,000 people. There was $141 million worth of renovation happened last year, according to the Canadian Home Builders Association. I am telling you, there is no shortage of opportunity. And despite what all the doomsday sayers are talking about inflation going up, and I'm not saying it's not, it probably is, the housing market is softening. There is still a lot of low-hanging fruit. Our phones continue to ring. People continue to want renovations done. So guys and girls, do not sell yourself short. You don't have to do jobs for no margin. That is ridiculous. You've just got to find clients that focus on quality and really appreciate good service. That's what you've got to look for. What's the next one?
Dimitri from TikTok.
Dimitri's back. Yep.
How did you end up choosing your specialty?
Look, I don't know. I think it may have I like renovations because I love the creative side in both the design and the construction. So I like taking something that's old and putting a little bit of design flair there, and then actually having the skills to be able to go and do the demolition and the rebuild. And so I think because I had a natural inkling, that I really did enjoy construction. It wasn't just a job for me. And I'd been doing it for the longest time before I got this gig as CEO. So it kind of worked out for me. Maybe if I had started, as a 20-year-old mechanic, I would have got to 25 and go, I hate this. And then I got into construction. But I was fortunate enough to kind of fall on my feet and begin something that I'm still doing at some, length today. So, yeah.
Dan Booth from TikTok.
Dan Booth is back. Yeah.
What's the biggest piece of advice that has changed the way you do business?
Wow. Immediately, because I know Dan the Man's has an affiliation with Gary V. Let me think. It's definitely going to be a Gary V-ism. There's no question. The biggest piece of advice.
Media company first.
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad one. There's lots, because I'm such a sponge. I'm always looking to change the way I think or change my view of things. And I just am, some stuff that I hear is just horseshit. I'm like, I'm not, that doesn't resonate with me right now. But there's a lot of stuff that Gary says is very practical. And if you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, go check him out. He is definitely an acquired taste, there's no question. But the dude's got a pretty good heart. And, he's worth having a listen to if you want a business development. But things like, talking to me, and I say he's talking to me. He wasn't talking to me. He was on a YouTube channel talking to somebody else. But, when he said the words that it doesn't matter what you're in, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you're a media company first. And I think when I look at my phase of play that I'm in right now, essentially when I moved to Canada, I've got a Canadian wife. And so, happy wife, happy life. Here I am. And I had to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And I think when I got into the role with Smithies, even though we are in the franchise business and we've got franchise general contractors in 3 countries, when Gary said, hey, no matter what industry or business you're in, you're a media company first, that flicked a switch in my mind. I'm thinking, okay. And now, of course, we're doing these kind of things. We're doing podcasts. We've got, lots of YouTube stuff going on as it relates to business. I've got a couple of staff in the office here that work on all the video stuff. And so, yeah, and it definitely has worked out for us. So, yeah, that was a pretty powerful piece, but it's not just one. There's probably multiple. If I sat back and had to think about it, there would be probably dozens. No question. What's next? Thanks, Dano.
BEC Services or Beck Services.
Righto.
Who's better, American builders or Canadian builders?
Aussie builders, mate. Boom. I haven't seen American builders. I think the Aussies have got a bit of an infatuation with, Canadian American construction industries because there's some, it's kind of, it's its own thing. But there's nothing fancy about the Aussie carpenter, Aussie builders. But, what I love about Canada is there's a lot of simple construction, but there's also, some pretty fancy homes. And I really love the mixture of textures, of course I haven't built a house in Australia for a long time, so I don't know what they're doing over there. But anyway, Yeah, that's trying to create peace between whoever asked that question about Canadian and American builders. Yeah, let's just keep it. Let's peace and love, folks. Peace and love. Not so much competition.
James from TikTok. How much deposit do you ask for when you are starting a project? Do you ask for 50 to 80%?
Yep. Look, and my question straight back would be, what size is the job? And the reason is, if I'm going to do a $12,000 job, I'm going to ask 50%, and basically the job is probably only going to take me 10 days, less than 2 weeks. So grab the money up front, smash it out. Here's the final invoice. Give us a check. Now, then flip the other way. My $1.1 million project, I think the down payment on that was only 5%. But 5% of $1 million is 50 grand, right? So it really does depend on the size of the project, and then it also depends on how much you need in advance to order. For me, I run all commercial accounts. So everything from bricks to lumber to roof tiles to windows to floor coverings, tiles, cabinets, the whole 9 yards. I could pick the phone up because I'd signed a commercial credit application where they basically had my neck in a noose if I didn't pay, and I would just start ordering like a crazy person. So that it depends on the size of the job, and then it depends if you actually need cash up front as to whether or not you can get orders on the road with or without a certain amount of cash. I tend to try and leave a little bit. I don't want the clients ever to feel like they've paid a lot of money and got a little bit, because then they start to distrust. But I don't want to cut my own throat because I haven't got enough operational capital for that project as well. And then I've got to start borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, et cetera, et cetera. So always, again, just think about it. There is no set percentage amount. You've got to analyze it case by case, job by job. See you, Dan Booth. You have a good weekend too. Righto, let's get cracking. We're just about done. We've got 5 minutes left. Show Abe. It's not that difficult. Okay. Show Abe. Okay.
Have you considered going into custom homes development or subdivisions?
Mate, what I've got going on, yeah, I have.
He says 1 custom homes, 2 full renovation projects, 3 subdivisions. Which one would you pick?
Look, if I was going to build one, I know a little bit about custom homes, and I got to get a builder's license in this country just so I can have bragging rights. But it would actually be, it'd be a toss-up between full renos and custom homes. It's hard. I like them all. Like, what can I say? It really comes down to where I think that there would be more competition in custom homes. I think I can add value. I think I can sell at a higher rate in renos. Subdivisions, like, that's out of my wheelhouse. That one gets out the window straight away. Not saying I'm writing it off, but when we're talking about a commercial operation, I would probably go full renovation projects. Righto, let's go. Next question. Welcome, Jacob Posma. I don't know if that's just
our final question we have at the moment.
Yeah, well, we're going to round up in 5.
User from TikTok.
Righto, user from TikTok. Let's go.
Your business ever being close to becoming busy?
There are some days where I wish it wasn't busy. Yeah, look, I think, no, look, it's what I know from history, my history, is that you've either got so much, you've either got no work on and too many guys, or you've got too much work on and not enough guys. Very rarely do you go perfect amount of work, perfect amount of guys. It's literally never happened to me. It's just because what happens is you go from having like $50,000 to $80,000 projects. You might have 2 or 3 of them on the go. And then we won a 5-plex job, $1 million project. So all of a sudden we're happy that we won the contract. And then all of a sudden reality sets in. You're like, now we've got to build it. They've given us the nod and we got to get after it. And so, I very rarely in my, past, it's always, you just got to bite off more than you can chew and chew like a bastard. And then the other piece of advice is always run a man short, because you always figure out how to get the job done. But it depends on where you are, your age and your expertise, and, what your end game looks like and where your happiness lies. Folks, forget about business. You've got to make sure that, in your head, there's happiness and there's joy and you're getting something out of life. We don't live to just work. Although there is some crazy people that, really do enjoy working maybe too much. And then you figure out later that it maybe wasn't the best call. I got a comment there from Jordan Tellier.
Yeah. Jordan M. Tellier.
Spec home versus custom home. Look, mate, there's pros and cons for both. You know that. Custom homes, I think there's more money in custom homes because they are exactly that. Clients come to you and say, I have a lot and I want to build this home. It's my, forever home. I don't want to shift after this. This is the final hurrah. That one, you can deliver value at a high level, but it comes with dealing with the client. So you need to have that systemized approach to both selling and building and managing the client throughout that process. Spec homes are good. You just go, I'll take that lot and I'm going to build that house. And then you can knock on the realtor's office and go, sell that thing for me, dude. I think what you need to do, I think it would be, you could do some custom homes and then maybe do a spec home. So I think to get cracking, if you're just starting out, Jordan, you're going to have to do a few custom jobs, whether they're renos or whether they're new homes, to get some bank to then go into a spec home, because that's going to take some cash, dude. And all of that is around your neck. That's the downside of a spec home, is that you assume all the risk, all the holding costs, and you're just praying for a sale. From everybody here at Business for Builders, you have an awesome weekend. Go build a kick-ass business. We will see you next time. Cheers, everybody. Peace out.